because they are drilling for oil the entire Indian Ocean, the entire Atlantic Ocean. They're drilling for oil on the land, they're drilling for oil on the sea, all over. And our governments are to blame for that, for selling the land and the ocean away, as this it's a commodity that you can just give away. For these companies to make huge profits, take it overseas to New York, to London, to Melbourne, and people there benefit out of it. None of us will benefit out of oil and gas. We know that. I've been to all the countries and I've seen it. In Mozambique, where Samuel is, there's been wars in Mozambique. We have to go there now and try and calm people down. But there are wars created by big corporations. They criminalize you. They create wars. They bring the army in. They bring everything in. Why should we be fighting amongst one another? We don't need a war. Wherever there's oil discovered, there are wars. Whether it's in Iraq, whether it's in Iran, or whether it's in Mozambique, whether it's in Angola, whether it's in the DRC, we are beginning to see the wars. In South Africa, we got a constitution that says you have the right to go anywhere. They're now undermining the constitution to bring in security. The security forces are increasing. More policemen, more shooting, more killing. So these are the instruments of the system. Maybe you don't hear the system, but the system is capitalism. And that system has to fall because it failed people completely. We as Africans have to realize that there is a system that we own from culture and tradition, where our families have brought up families upon families, where they've made sure that the food we eat is not poison. Same thing with all this here. There's no need for us to take on this Western mentality that every land must be drilled for oil, or it must be fracked, or it must be coal. They're going to coal everywhere. In South Africa, we also have sub-imperialism coming into build. Sub-imperialism, do you know the word? What it means? Sub-imperialism means the new elites, the new countries that are coming into Africa, the China, the India, and whatever other countries are coming and rushing into Africa too, because they're coming with the same mentality. That we need big infrastructure projects. We need to go and explore for oil. We also need oil. We also bring chemical companies in. So we have realized that as Oilwatch, that there is a time that we have to unite the continent, and now's the time.
My name is Kentebe Biarido. I work with Environmental Rights Action Friends of the Earth Nigeria. I also coordinate Oilwatch International. Oilwatch Africa is having its AGM here in Kampala, Uganda, and the theme is talking about from exploitation to restoration. If you look at what has been happening on the African continent over the past few decades, you can see that most of the communities have been left impoverished from extraction that has been going on in the African continent, and most of this extraction and the benefits from its extraction are going to the global north, and Africa has been the one bearing the brunt of all the environmental monstrosity that has been going on. And I think it's high time that Africa come together, address this situation, and see how we can harness our own environmental justice for ourselves, and defining our own type of the type of justice that we want for our own type of development.
Because their plans, from what we eat to the air we breathe, that we should buy it. They want to commercialize our lifestyle. And that's why any person that wants to do any good thing in Africa, they kill the person. The last being Gaddafi. Just imagine what Libya was like before Gaddafi was murdered. Everything was almost free. If you marry, they give you a house. If you want to go to school anywhere, if you are sick, it was a free state. Look at what has happened. Look at the conflicts all over Africa because of guns that came from the collapse of Libya. That is their plan. That is what they want us to be. Everybody should not be set. In fact, the GMO is to tell you that if you want to eat, you have to buy their chemical, you have to buy their crops and all that. They just want to enslave us.
Their main objective is to fight against the social, environmental, economic impacts of oil across Africa, but also beyond Africa. So even when we have a theme for this conference, the ultimate objective is to ensure that the impacts, the negative social, environmental, economic impacts of oil are stopped.
Noble Waja. I come from Ghana and I work for Oilwatch, and also I'm a member of the Oilwatch African Steering Committee. The climate change challenges that we have today, which cannot be delinked from colonial mindset of extraction. So Africa has gone, the global south for that matter, including Africa, have gone through years of experiencing, how do I call it, production and consumption practices that does not tally with what we really get out of that production and consumption. Production and consumption that is linked to opening up our natural resources for international trade, and that has hurt our environment because of the unbridled nature of exploitation of our resources, which payment does not commensurate with what we take away. So in the process, we have lost our environmental integrity, and a lot of people are now in the quagmire of poverty. And now and all these things happened because there is an overconsumption in the global north.
My name is Salome Nduta. I am based in Kenya. I am the Oilwatch Africa coordinator. It's because our governments, our leaders are told good things about fossil fuel. They are never told about the impact this has on communities. And impacts include communities being sent away from their land, the land being destroyed to the level that it is never arable again, and that means it has impact on food security.
So my name is Samuel Okulony. I work with the Environment Governance Institute. I'm based in Uganda. Actually, Uganda would not lose anything if we left the oil currently as it is on the ground. We actually would be benefiting because we would be avoiding the mass impact that oil would be bringing into our people. But also you find that we're in a climate emergency. I know there is a discussion that, Africa in general will contribute about 4% of the global emissions, and while other countries have been able to contribute more. So, but then we need to look at this as a collective that we suffer the worst impacts of climate change, and we need to be able to contribute towards addressing the impact of climate change. And we need to be driving agenda from an example point of view. So we cannot be able to follow the same path that other countries have used in polluting, same path of polluting in order to develop. And if we have a better alternative as a country. So we would be having actually more of a triple benefit as a country if we left the oil in the ground currently. One, we would be able to save our own biodiversity, because much of this oil extraction is happening in national parks, Mission Falls National Park.
Kazi-Njema, online, live from Hoima City.